Every life begins and ends with a word. The universe itself was spoken into existence, carried upon the invisible current of divine utterance. To speak is to create, and to create is to claim dominion over the unseen. Every word that leaves your lips carries a vibration, a subtle frequency that moves through the ethers, seeking its match. The law of spoken wealth is not merely about affirmations or chants. It is the very architecture of reality itself. The moment a word is spoken with faith, it becomes a decree, and that decree begins to shape the invisible substance around you into visible form. You are not a beggar before the universe. You are a sculptor of vibration, a master of the unseen field, where every syllable is a chisel stroke carving destiny. Most people speak carelessly, unaware that every idle phrase becomes a seed. They speak of lack and wonder why their harvest is barren. They utter words of fear and wonder why their nights are long and their paths narrow. Yet the law makes no mistake. It gives back to every tongue the fruit of its own utterance. I am poor, one says, and the world agrees. I am unlucky, another sighs, and the current of life turns cold around them. The universe, being perfectly obedient, mirrors every declaration, every vibration that the soul releases. But when one awakens to the sacred truth that the tongue is an instrument of divine command, the transformation begins. No longer does one speak from the wound of need. One speaks from the throne of knowing. The law of spoken wealth is not loud. It is not in the shouting of affirmations or the mechanical repetition of phrases. It is in the quiet authority of conviction. A word spoken once in faith is greater than 1,000 words spoken in fear. The lips need not tremble with effort. The heart must hum with certainty. When you speak from peace, the universe listens with reverence. When you say, "All that I require now flows to me in perfect order," the ethers rearrange themselves to obey. The unseen becomes eager, rushing to shape the vision that your words have called forth. For the spoken word is a sacred fire. It does not merely describe reality, it defines it. Every syllable carries color and tone in the unseen world. Words of love are golden and radiant. Words of fear are gray and heavy. To speak abundance is to send out golden messengers who travel through time and space, drawing to you all that resonates with joy, faith, and gratitude. These messengers never sleep. They move through the invisible fields, gathering every blessing that matches their vibration. When you say, "Money flows to me easily," your word becomes a river. When you say, "I am surrounded by supply," your word becomes a garden. When you say, "I cannot," the soil hardens, the river dries, the garden sleeps. The law cannot choose, it merely reflects. Therefore, the wise one watches every word as a gardener watches every seed. To master the law of spoken wealth, one must begin by purifying the tongue. Every complaint, every anxious remark must be seen for what it is, a withdrawal from the divine bank. Each negative phrase is an act of uncreation, a command for the opposite of good. The universe does not measure your intention, it measures your vibration. If you say, "I want more," but feel lack, the vibration of lack is what it obeys. If you say, "I am rich," but doubt in your heart, the vibration of doubt clouds the message. The law responds only to harmony between thought, word, and faith. Thus you must become, as a clear channel, your speech simple, your belief steady, your tone calm. Speak not from desperation, but from certainty that every word you release is already fulfilled in spirit. The ancients knew this secret well. They spoke sparingly, for they understood that words were living entities. They would bless their fields before sowing, bless their homes before rest, bless their journeys before leaving. Every blessing was a magnetic command that shaped reality to serve them. You too may bless your day and find it multiply in joy. Bless your money and see it increase. Bless your debts and see them dissolve in perfect order. Bless your enemies and see them fade from your path. The law of spoken wealth works not through force, but through divine obedience. It listens to your tone, not your volume. It heeds your belief, not your fear. When you speak, imagine that your words are rays of light entering a vast sea. Each ray transforms the water into gold, expanding outward until the entire ocean glows. This is how the law functions. One pure word illuminates countless unseen forces. The phrase, "I live in divine abundance," does not merely echo in your room. It travels through dimensions, awakening forces you cannot see. It reaches the minds of those destined to assist you. It aligns events. It draws coincidences. It moves hearts. Your word becomes a law to the universe, and the universe delights in obeying its own creation. Do not speak against yourself. The tongue is not meant for self-doubt. When you belittle your gifts, you decree smallness. When you declare unworthiness, you invite delay. The law does not punish, it mirrors. Therefore speak gently, but with authority. Say, "I am ready to receive," and mean it. Say, "Everything unfolds in divine timing," and trust it. Say, "I have more than enough," and feel it. These phrases are not empty wishes. They are spiritual architecture. Each one lays a foundation in the invisible that the visible must later mirror. What you speak today becomes the furniture of tomorrow's life. To awaken the full current of this law, practice the holy stillness before speaking. Pause before every declaration and feel its power forming behind your words. Let your inner silence charge the phrase with magnetism. When you speak from that silence, your word travels farther, pierces deeper, and returns faster. It is not noise that creates. It is intention anchored in faith. Even a single phrase, "Infinite supply is my birthright," when spoken in deep stillness, can erase years of limitation. The universe does not measure time. It measures vibration. And one moment of divine speech can accomplish what years of struggle could not. There are those who spend their lives chasing prosperity and those who speak it into existence. The difference is faith. The chaser runs toward what he believes is separate from him. The speaker calls forth what he already knows belongs to him. The chaser prays for a door to open. The speaker declares, "The door is open," and walks through. Such is the quiet majesty of the law. It does not require effort, only awareness of the divine authority already within you. When you rest tonight, your words will continue their journey. Every decree you have spoken will work while you sleep, weaving threads of abundance through the fabric of your dreams. The angels of the word move swiftly. They waste no time. They travel through thought, through space, through the hearts of others, until your spoken truth becomes your lived reality. If you have spoken faith, faith shall return. If you have spoken gratitude, gratitude shall multiply. The law of spoken wealth never forgets a word. It holds every utterance in eternal memory, waiting only for your belief to give it form. Guard therefore the gate of your lips, as you would guard a temple. Speak no idle fear, no casual resentment, no careless prophecy of lack. Instead, let your speech be sacred. Let it be rich in peace, full of beauty, clothed in assurance. Say only that which you wish to see multiplied, for the universe is your echo, and every sound you make returns magnified. The one who understands this law need not struggle. Their words do the work. They speak light, and the light becomes gold. They speak wealth, and wealth becomes form. They speak rest, and all the winds of heaven conspire to make it so. When the sun sets and the world falls into silence, the invisible kingdom awakens. The night is not the absence of light, it is the sanctuary of divine movement. In the still hours, when the mind has ceased its noise and the body lies surrendered, the unseen currents of prosperity begin their sacred work. The night as a holy channel is the hour when human effort dissolves and divine orchestration takes its place. The consciousness that strives by day must learn to rest by night, for it is in the gentle rhythm of surrender that abundance finds its path. The night is the universe's secret meeting with your soul, a time when every prayer is heard more clearly, every word of faith amplified, every decree sealed in spirit. As sleep takes over, the conscious mind retires from its endless calculations and worries. It no longer interferes with the higher intelligence that governs all creation. The divine mind, vast and untroubled, begins to move through your dreams, rearranging the unseen patterns that guide your life. It heals what was wounded, straightens what was crooked, restores what was lost. In the realm of night, all resistance fades, and faith becomes effortless. While the physical body sleeps, the soul communes with the source, receiving instructions, blessings, and alignments that the waking mind cannot yet comprehend. You may awaken without knowing why your heart feels lighter or your path suddenly clear, but that is the silent work of the night, performing miracles behind the veil of sleep. The night does not belong to fear, as many believe. It belongs to faith. In its quiet darkness lies the most potent field of manifestation. The same darkness that once covered the face of the deep before creation still holds within it the unformed potential of all good. To enter sleep with peace is to enter the creative womb of the universe, where all things are made new. When you fall asleep in gratitude, your dreams become gardens of abundance. When you fall asleep in worry, your dreams become tangled weeds. The law cannot be fooled. It amplifies whatever seed you plant before surrendering to the night. The wise one prepares for sleep as one would prepare for sacred ceremony. The mind must be cleared of all grievances, the tongue washed of complaint, the heart made soft with thankfulness. In this state of purity, your frequency rises and you become aligned with the holy current of prosperity. Each breath in the dark becomes a prayer without words. Each heartbeat becomes a drum summoning angels of supply. In this quiet surrender, the ego falls away, and what remains is the soul in conversation with its creator. You may think you are merely sleeping, but your spirit is working, building bridges of light toward every dream you have spoken. During the night, the energy of the day is redeemed. Words of fear spoken in haste are neutralized by the deeper rhythm of peace. Doubts dissolve in the river of divine mercy. The mind, exhausted from striving, finally loosens its grip, allowing the higher vibration of abundance to take hold. That is why many awaken with sudden ideas, solutions, or opportunities. They are the echoes of divine whispers heard in the night. The holy channel has spoken, and the soul has listened. Prosperity does not come from endless struggle, but from alignment with the invisible order that works most powerfully in rest. The night teaches the greatest secret of creation. Effort is not power, stillness is. The seed does not strain to become a tree. It rests in the soil, and the soil performs its miracle. So too must the soul learn to rest in divine certainty. When you lie down and close your eyes, you are not leaving the world behind. You are entering the workshop of heaven. Every intention you release before sleep becomes a blueprint for angels to build upon. They take your words and weave them into situations, meetings, and synchronicities. You need not see their hands to trust their work. The night is their hour, and your surrender is their permission. The night, as a holy channel, transforms the bedroom into a temple. Your bed becomes an altar of restoration. Your pillow a resting place for sacred dreams. The air itself hums with invisible prayer. The rhythm of your breathing joins the rhythm of the cosmos. As you drift between waking and dreaming, your consciousness expands beyond the confines of the body. You travel in spirit to realms of light, where ideas, wealth, and healing flow freely. You drink from the wells of divine supply, and though you may not remember the journey, its power follows you upon waking. You feel renewed, not only in body, but in soul, for the night has poured into you what the day could not. The night does not judge your worthiness. It responds to your readiness. If you enter it burdened with fear, it will mirror fear. If you enter it clothed in peace, it will mirror peace. The holy channel amplifies whatever frequency you bring into it. Therefore, before you surrender to sleep, speak softly the words that align you with divine order. Say, "Tonight, all channels of prosperity open to me." Say, "In the silence of sleep, I receive the abundance that is already mine." These words become your spiritual compass through the night, guiding your soul toward realms of light where all desires are fulfilled. There are subtle hours when the veil is thinnest, just before sleep, and just before dawn. In these liminal moments, the universe listens most intently. The words you whisper then carry the greatest power. Between the last thought of waking and the first stir of sleep lies the gateway of creation. What you hold in that brief moment becomes the tone of your night, and the tone of your night becomes the melody of your life. If your last thought is of peace, you invite the universe to arrange your affairs in harmony. If your last thought is of lack, you invite delay. Therefore, choose wisely the final words that cross your mind before the darkness closes. Let them be words of faith, beauty, and wealth. The night as a holy channel is also a reminder that prosperity is not something you must chase. It is something you must allow. The constant activity of day often blocks the quiet instruction of spirit. But when all motion stops, the divine flow resumes. Sleep is not an interruption to your prosperity, it is part of its design. The night is the balancing breath of the cosmos, drawing back the scattered fragments of your energy, realigning them with purpose. You awaken whole, because the night has gathered you. You awaken supplied because the night has restored you to your natural vibration of abundance. When you truly understand this, sleep becomes a sacred act of faith. To lie down without worry is to declare, the universe provides. To rest without anxiety is to affirm, my good comes without strain. The dream world is the rehearsal ground for your earthly life. Every symbol, every vision is the language through which spirit teaches you the art of effortless creation. You may dream of walking through gardens and upon waking find new opportunities blooming. You may dream of receiving gifts and later discover provision arriving from unexpected places. Such is the nature of the holy channel. It translates divine symbols into earthly supply. Even the stars participate in this mystery. Their light, though distant, filters through your window as a silent benediction. They remind you that abundance is eternal, that no night is truly dark. The same intelligence that moves the stars moves through your soul as you sleep. Every breath aligns you with cosmic rhythm. Every dream weaves you deeper into the design of divine prosperity. You are never alone in the night. The entire universe breathes with you, waiting for your surrender, ready to pour its unseen wealth into your being. Prosperity is not a stranger to your life. It is the very pulse that keeps existence in motion. The rivers flow without effort. The trees bear fruit in their appointed season. The tides return without hesitation. And within this divine harmony lies the eternal rhythm of supply. Prosperity as natural rhythm means that wealth is not something to be acquired through struggle. It is something to be attuned to, just as the heart beats without conscious command. Abundance moves in its own perfect cadence. When one aligns with that rhythm, life becomes a seamless song of giving and receiving, expansion and rest, planting and harvest. The soul that understands this rhythm ceases to panic, ceases to grasp, ceases to plead. It begins instead to dance with the current of divine flow. Everything in the universe operates under a sacred law of circulation. The air you breathe in must be exhaled. The ocean's wave that rises must fall. Nothing hoards, nothing clings. When man began to fear lack, he stepped out of rhythm. He built walls around his blessings, and the flow began to stagnate. He began to call that stagnation security, not realizing that the only true security lies in motion. The law of rhythm cannot be broken. It can only be resisted. When resisted, it appears as struggle. When obeyed, it appears as grace. Prosperity, therefore, is not a chase, but a surrender. It is the art of allowing life's tide to move through you without fear that it will not return. Look at the world around you, the bees that gather nectar, the stars that rise and set, the seasons that shift in endless symmetry. None of them worry about their provision. The bee trusts the flower will bloom. The flower trusts the sun will shine. The sun trusts the earth will turn. There is a divine choreography at play, and it includes you. Your needs are not apart from this rhythm. they are expressions of it. The desire for wealth, peace, or fulfillment is not greed, it is the universe seeking to express more of itself through you. The rhythm calls you to grow, to expand, to circulate good. To deny your prosperity is to deny the natural rhythm of your own being. Human thought has made prosperity appear difficult, as though one must toil endlessly for crumbs of good. But in truth, the more one strains, the farther one moves from flow. Effort without faith is friction, and friction resists rhythm. When the heart of man is still and trusting, his actions become part of the universal melody. He gives when guided, receives with gratitude, and trusts the intervals of silence between. Just as music needs pauses to create harmony, life too has seasons of stillness that precede great abundance. Many mistake these pauses for absence, not realizing they are the breath between notes, the preparation before harvest. When the rhythm is understood, there is no fear in release. What leaves your hand is not lost. It circles back magnified. Every act of generosity sends forth a current that returns to its source. Every kind word, every seed planted, every service rendered echoes through the universe and finds its way home. This is not superstition, it is spiritual physics. The invisible law of return is as precise as gravity. The miser breaks the rhythm by hoarding, and his storehouse grows stale. The generous one amplifies it by giving, and his storehouse renews itself endlessly. The circulation of wealth is the circulation of life itself. The more freely it flows, the more vital the soul becomes. Prosperity, as natural rhythm, also means harmony between inner and outer movement. One cannot speak abundance and live in fear, nor can one expect increase while holding tightly to loss. The rhythm begins within. It starts as a quiet assurance that life provides, that the same intelligence that nourishes the earth nourishes you. This assurance softens the breath, relaxes the body, and opens the channels of receiving. The more relaxed the soul, the more magnetic it becomes. Worry is a clenched fist that cannot receive. Faith is an open hand that catches every blessing. The rhythm of prosperity is like breathing. You must both give and receive, both exhale and inhale, both act and rest. When one part is ignored, imbalance begins. The rhythm also has sound. It is the hum beneath all creation, the quiet frequency of divine order. Those who live in tune with it move through life with serenity, no matter how the outer world trembles. They do not chase opportunity. Opportunity moves toward them. They do not demand wealth. Wealth recognizes them as its natural companion. They walk as the river walks, never anxious, always in motion, always returning to source. The prosperous mind knows that every apparent delay is part of a larger measure, that every rest is preparation for crescendo. The anxious mind hears only silence and calls it emptiness, but the awakened mind hears silence and calls it rhythm. The body itself mirrors this law. The blood circulates, the heart beats, the lungs exchange air. None of these functions can be frozen or forced. They follow a perfect divine pattern, the same pattern that governs wealth and opportunity. When you align your thoughts with that inner harmony, you become a living reflection of universal prosperity. The mind that trusts this rhythm ceases to hurry. It knows that everything needed will arrive at its appointed hour. The soul that panics breaks its own timing and misses the beauty of divine choreography. To trust the rhythm is to live in grace. You may look at your life and see moments of scarcity, yet even those are part of rhythm. The tide recedes only to return fuller. The tree loses its leaves, only to bloom again. What appears as loss is often the divine pulse drawing breath before the next outpouring. Many pray for abundance without understanding that rest is part of abundance too. The pause between blessings is not punishment, it is rhythm. When you cease fearing the pauses, you begin to experience continuous flow. Gratitude for the unseen seasons transforms waiting into worship. To live by this law is to release all concept of competition. There is no shortage in rhythm, The sea does not fear that one wave will steal from another. Every rise creates space for the next. When others prosper, it is proof that the current is moving, not that it is running dry. The jealous heart cuts itself off from circulation. The rejoicing heart rides the tide of collective increase. Life multiplies for the one who blesses the good he sees around him, for his blessing keeps him in tempo with the expanding symphony of creation. There is also rhythm in thought. Ideas come and go, like seasons. Inspiration visits when the mind is quiet, and departs when the mind is restless. The wise soul does not cling to one vision, but allows divine timing to reveal the next. In this way, success becomes effortless, because it is not manufactured, it is allowed. Prosperity flows through inspiration, as surely as sap flows through the tree. When you are in rhythm, even your silence becomes productive. You think less, and yet accomplish more. You plan less, and yet receive more. The current of divine order does the heavy lifting, and you merely keep step with it. When you rise in the morning, the rhythm greets you in sunlight. When you work, it moves through your hands. When you rest, it breathes beside you. The entire universe is an orchestra playing one eternal song, and you are one note within it. The discord you feel in moments of struggle is not life's rejection. It is your temporary resistance to the melody. The moment you release control, the rhythm resumes. Prosperity does not begin with money. It begins with music, the vibration of harmony within the soul. When you hum in faith, the universe tunes itself to your song. This rhythm cannot be hurried or delayed. It follows divine order, not human demand. You may think your desire has been forgotten, but it has only been placed in the next measure of the song. When it returns, it does so with fullness and precision. Trust therefore that nothing good can be lost. What departs today will circle back in greater form tomorrow. The tide never forgets the shore. It always finds its way home, and so does every blessing you have spoken, given or dreamed, each one moving with perfect rhythm toward the moment of manifestation. Gratitude is not a polite response to receiving. It is the creative pulse of the universe itself. It is the invisible bridge between the unseen and the seen, the spiritual magnet that draws all good into form. When you give thanks, not after the blessing but before it, you step into the frequency of creation. Gratitude is the sound the soul makes when it recognizes its own divinity. It is the vibration that aligns you with the original current of life, the rhythm that sustains stars, seasons, and breath. The grateful heart is never empty, for it lives in constant dialogue with abundance. Every sigh of appreciation is a decree that multiplies its own cause. Gratitude is not an emotion, it is a law. It is the frequency that opens the gates through which prosperity flows unhindered. In the unseen realms, every thought emits a tone. Worry hums low and heavy. Resentment vibrates sharply, but gratitude rings pure and golden. It rises like sunlight through fog, dissolving the density of fear. The universe hears it instantly, for gratitude is its native language. When the heart whispers, "Thank you," even before the evidence appears, the unseen responds with multiplication. The fields of supply begin to stir, and unseen hands prepare the harvest. Gratitude does not wait for the proof of good. It creates the proof. It calls forth that which is still sleeping in spirit, and says, "Awaken, for you are already mine." The grateful soul never begs, never doubts, never questions the process of fulfillment. It already stands within the answer. When you live in the frequency of gratitude, every detail of life becomes sacred. You begin to see blessings where others see burdens, lessons where others see loss. Gratitude transforms perception. It shifts the mind from scarcity to sufficiency, from anxiety to trust. You cease to measure life by appearances and begin to sense its hidden perfection. Even a delay becomes a disguised gift, a moment for faith to mature. The mind that is grateful cannot be poor, for it sees treasure in all things. The simple light on the floor, the whisper of rain, the breath that enters the lungs, Each becomes a message that life has not forgotten you. In that awareness, your vibration rises, and abundance finds its way to you as surely as rivers find the sea. The frequency of gratitude also purifies the tongue. The one who thanks cannot complain, for gratitude and grievance cannot share the same breath. Complaining lowers vibration and clouds the field of manifestation. Gratitude clears it like sunlight after storm. When the lips speak thankfulness, they send out waves of harmony that touch every circumstance. Even situations that once seemed immovable begin to soften under the warmth of appreciation. The more you bless what you have, the more it grows. The more you give thanks for what has not yet come, the faster it travels toward you. The universe rushes to complete every sentence of gratitude, for that frequency mirrors the vibration of its own joy. Gratitude is also an act of faith. To thank before receiving is to declare, "I already live in the reality of supply." Such a declaration rearranges everything around you. Invisible forces adjust, align, and deliver. The anxious heart prays with uncertainty, but the grateful heart prays with completion. It does not plead, "Please give," but sings, "Thank you for already giving." This subtle difference in tone changes everything. The first voice speaks from lack, the second from abundance. The first waits to see, the second knows. Gratitude turns waiting into receiving by dissolving the illusion of separation between you and your good. The moment you give thanks, you claim ownership in the realm of spirit, and what is owned in spirit must eventually appear in form. Consider the natural world. It hums with perpetual gratitude. The flower opens to the sun, not because it demands light, but because it trusts it will be there. The river glimmers in its own reflection, not in need, but in celebration of what already flows. Every part of creation vibrates in gratitude. For being, it does not question its worthiness, nor does it fear the next moment. It simply is, and in that being, it receives endlessly. Humanity is the only creature that forgets this rhythm and wows at progress. But when man remembers to thank, to bless his breath, his labor, his bread, his rest, he steps back into the universal chorus of sufficiency. Gratitude returns him to harmony with the whole. The frequency of gratitude does not demand great rituals. It begins in the smallest thought. A single moment of genuine appreciation can shift the energy of an entire day. It can dissolve worry, transform relationships, and open pathways where before there seemed to be none. It does not require words. It requires awareness. You can be grateful in silence, and that silence will echo through creation. You can be grateful in adversity, and that gratitude will transmute the very vibration of the challenge. The alchemy of gratitude turns lead into gold, sorrow into wisdom, endings into beginnings. It does not change reality, it reveals its divine pattern. To live in gratitude is to live in trust. Trust that every delay carries divine timing, that every detour conceals direction, that every empty moment is a vessel waiting to be filled. When you thank the unseen for its perfection, you invite it to reveal itself. Gratitude opens perception to the higher order behind apparent chaos. It allows you to see that no step is wasted, no experience meaningless. The grateful mind does not cling to outcomes. It delights in unfolding. It knows that abundance does not need to be forced, only received. Gratitude is that receiving. It is the soul's open palm held up to the heavens, not to beg, but to acknowledge. This frequency has sound, color, and light. It hums like a low, golden chord in the heart. It radiates outward in waves that change the very fabric of one's environment. People feel it without knowing why they are drawn to you. Opportunities seem to appear without effort. The air feels lighter, the body stronger, the path clearer. This is not coincidence. It is resonance. You have become a tuning fork for prosperity, and life responds to the tone you emit. Gratitude is that tone, the original note of creation. When you sustain it long enough, the entire universe begins to vibrate in harmony with your song. Even in sleep, gratitude works. As the body rests, the energy of thankfulness continues its quiet movement through the night. It softens thoughts, heals memories, and prepares the heart to receive new blessings with dawn. Many awaken with sudden peace, unaware that it is gratitude that carried them through the dark. The grateful soul never sleeps in fear. It sleeps in surrender. It does not rehearse problems, but whispers, "All is well." That whisper becomes the lullaby of angels. And by morning, the invisible has already begun its work. To understand the frequency of gratitude is to understand divine multiplication. Whatever you bless expands. Whatever you thank grows in stature and substance. When you bless your health, it strengthens. When you bless your work, it prospers. When you bless your finances, they circulate with ease. When you bless even your challenges, they dissolve into opportunities. Nothing resists the power of sincere gratitude. It carries no demand, no struggle, only light. The universe yields to that light, for it recognizes its own reflection. Gratitude is divine recognition, the moment spirit sees itself in human form. There is a sacred stillness that follows deep gratitude, a silence that feels like the pause between heartbeats. In that silence, creation listens. The higher laws lean close, waiting for your next decree. Gratitude prepares the way for that decree to be heard. Without it, the words of manifestation are scattered and weak. With it, they move as thunder through the invisible. That is why every act of manifestation must begin in thanks. Gratitude aligns your energy with the outcome before it arrives. It lifts you above doubt and aligns you with the frequency of fulfillment. Gratitude is the language of the awakened, the speech of the prosperous, the breath of the blessed. It does not argue with appearances, for it knows appearances are only reflections waiting to change. It does not dwell in the past, for it sees only renewal. It does not fear the future, for it knows that divine provision is continuous. Gratitude lives in the eternal present, where all things are already given. To dwell in that present is to live beyond limitation, beyond delay, beyond lack. It is to walk in rhythm with the infinite, hearing the song of abundance in every heartbeat, every gust of wind, every quiet moment of being. There is a power deeper than speech, older than thought, and more sacred than prayer, a power that exists in silence. The silent commands of the soul are not spoken with the tongue, but with vibration. They rise from the unseen depths of conviction, moving through the ethers like invisible fire. Words may carry sound, but silence carries authority. The soul that has mastered the art of silent decree no longer pleads for good. It emanates good. It no longer repeats affirmations in hope. It radiates certainty in peace. The true act of manifestation is not noisy. It is inward, calm, and absolute. In that quiet confidence lies dominion over all outer conditions. The one who has learned to command in silence has learned to move the universe without a single sound. When one first begins the spiritual path, the mouth is busy. One prays, affirms, declares, repeats. But as understanding deepens, the words grow fewer and the faith grows greater. At last, there comes a time when even the word becomes unnecessary, for the vibration behind it has been made pure. The soul knows that creation answers not to the volume of speech, but to the strength of belief. Just as the ocean does not roar to move its waves, the soul does not need to shout to move matter. Its still awareness is enough. The silent commands of the soul are the language of the higher self, the language that angels understand, the language that substance obeys, the language of the infinite within man. True silence is not emptiness. It is fullness, unexpressed. It is the resting place of divine certainty. When one enters it consciously, one steps into the workshop of the Creator. There, every thought becomes a seed, every feeling becomes design, and every inner image is already halfway born into form. The outer world is slow, dense, and reactive. The inner world is instant, responsive, and precise. To speak aloud is to move through the outer. To command in silence is to shape the inner, and when the inner is shaped, the outer must follow. The one who knows this law no longer chases results. They sit quietly and remember who they are, and the remembrance itself becomes command. In the still moments before dawn, when the air feels thick with peace, that is the perfect hour to practice this art. Sit not to speak, but to radiate. Feel the presence of divine supply, filling every corner of your being. Do not ask for anything. Simply know that all is already given. As this knowing deepens, the invisible current around you begins to shift. Opportunities, resources, and helpers start aligning. Though you have not uttered a word, the universe moves toward quiet certainty, as metal moves toward magnet. The soul that believes silently becomes irresistible to good. The louder the world, the more power silence holds, for silence is the vibration untouched by chaos. The silent commands of the soul require purity of thought. Words can disguise doubt, silence cannot. In silence, only truth remains. If fear hides in the heart, it will echo loudly in the quiet. Therefore, before one commands, one must cleanse the inner chamber of disbelief. This cleansing is not effort, it is remembrance. To remember that you are divine is to dissolve every shadow of lack. The soul does not beg its creator for provision, it is one with the creator's abundance. When you sit in this realization, your silence becomes a radiant decree. You no longer need to say, I am rich, for the vibration of richness moves through your being like a tide. You no longer need to affirm, I am safe, for safety has become your atmosphere. In this way, the silent becomes speechless authority. When you release a silent command, you do not send it outward, you send it inward, into the infinite within you. The outer world is but reflection. The real stage of creation lies in consciousness. To command silently is to instruct your own vibration to change. Once it changes, everything that matches that vibration must appear in your experience. If you silently decree peace, the field of your being settles into harmony, and every outer circumstance rearranges to match that peace. If you silently decree abundance, your inner rhythm aligns with supply, and channels of provision open naturally. The law of correspondence ensures that what is true within becomes true without. The wise soul therefore speaks rarely, but when it does, the universe listens because every word has already been shaped in silence. This sacred power is felt most strongly in the heart. The mind may formulate phrases, but the heart issues decrees. Its language is vibration, not syllable. When the heart feels unwavering faith, that feeling is a command to the ethers. The invisible substance responds to it immediately, for it recognizes the vibration of divine certainty. All form is the echo of vibration. Therefore, to change form, one must change vibration, and vibration is changed not by noise, but by still conviction. In this way, the silent commands of the soul are the highest form of prayer. They do not plead for divine attention. They are divine attention focused and radiant. There are moments when you must remain outwardly silent, even in the face of trouble. To argue with appearances is to lend them power. The soul that knows its own dominion will remain still, while the storm rages, knowing that silence is stronger than reaction. The stillness is not apathy, it is mastery. It is the knowing that every discordant situation is an echo of a vibration that can be changed within. When you meet conflict, you need not defend, justify, or explain. Withdraw into inner silence and speak your decree there. The outer will follow, as faithfully as shadow follows light. The universe is structured to obey the silent ones who command from truth. In daily life, the practice of silent command transforms the smallest acts into miracles. As you walk, silently decree, where I go, peace walks before me. As you eat, silently affirm, this nourishment renews my strength and attracts divine plenty. As you work, silently declare, the works of my hands prosper perfectly. These are not thoughts, they are vibrations. They move through the ethers without sound, and every element of your world adjusts in response. Silent speech is not hidden from the universe. It is heard more clearly than noise. For the subtle laws of creation respond not to the loud, but to the pure. A single moment of silent conviction can undo 1,000 spoken doubts. There is a divine poise that accompanies those who practice this art. Their presence feels calm, their eyes steady, their words few yet powerful. They carry an aura that speaks louder than any voice. This is the radiance of mastery, the result of commanding silently from the soul, rather than reacting from the surface mind. Others may sense it without understanding why they feel drawn, comforted, or inspired. It is because they are entering the field of one who governs vibration rather than circumstance. The one who lives by silent command walks as the law made flesh. They do not seek miracles, they emanate them. Silence also carries remembrance. When you sit in stillness, you are reminded that creation itself began in silence. Before the first word was spoken, the divine mind conceived all things in sacred quiet. Out of that still womb came the sound that birthed galaxies. So it is within you. Every word you speak outwardly is but the echo of an inner silence that has already decided. If the decision is born in peace, the outcome will be peace. If it is born in fear, it will be confusion. The one who understands this does not rush to speak. They take time to still the waters of thought until the reflection of truth appears. Then from that still surface, they command and creation obeys. The silent commands of the soul are the highest expression of spiritual maturity. They require no performance, no repetition, no audience. They are private dialogues between the divine and itself. When practiced sincerely, they become effortless. You do not try to command. You simply know. You no longer feel separate from the power you invoke. You realize you are the power. Silence becomes your cathedral, your throne, your kingdom. The air around you thickens with peace. The world begins to rearrange itself to match your inner decree, and all of life bends gracefully toward the vibration you sustain. The outer becomes servant to the inner, and the inner remains perfectly still. Wealth is not a thing to be chased, earned, or demanded. It is a natural response to harmony. Harmony is the vibration of divine order made visible in one's affairs. It is the use of the soul, translated into form, the unseen melody that keeps the rivers flowing, the stars balanced, the heart beating in rhythm with creation. When the soul is in harmony, wealth becomes inevitable. For the universe cannot withhold from what resembles itself. Every particle of existence moves toward balance. When you find your balance, the world brings its gifts to your feet. Harmony invites wealth, not because it asks for it, but because it is wealth in its purest state: peace, beauty, alignment, and flow. The state of harmony is not achieved through effort or force. It is born of inner stillness, of releasing resistance to life's rhythm. Most people live in discord, not because they are unworthy, but because their thoughts move faster than the natural pace of divine unfolding. They hurry, worry, compete, and compare, striking dissonant chords in their energy. The result is friction, an inner noise that repels prosperity. Harmony, on the other hand, is gentle alignment. It is the art of allowing divine timing to reveal itself in calm perfection. To live harmoniously is to trust that what belongs to you will never pass you by, and what departs does so because its song in your life has been completed. When you begin to seek harmony above all else, you become a magnet to wealth. You notice how everything in nature already moves by the law of ease. The flower does not fight to bloom, it simply unfolds because the conditions around it are balanced. The soil is nourished, the sunlight steady, the rain arrives when needed. So too is the human soul, a garden. When the conditions of thought and emotion are harmonious, prosperity blooms without struggle. But if the soil is hardened by fear, the roots of supply cannot penetrate. If the air is clouded by resentment, the light of opportunity cannot enter. Wealth is never missing. It is simply waiting for the inner climate to match its frequency. Harmony is not passivity. It is creative cooperation with the divine order. It is listening deeply for the tone of right action and following it without resistance. The harmonious soul acts, but never reacts. It moves deliberately, in rhythm with inspiration, never out of panic or pride. Its actions flow like a river, not like a storm. This steady rhythm of peace is the vibration of wealth, for prosperity is not the result of constant activity, it is the result of aligned movement. The one who is in harmony with life's current finds that opportunities unfold naturally. People, places, and situations arrange themselves in perfect sequence. There is no exhaustion, no confusion, only quiet success, rising like dawn from within. To invite harmony, one must first bring peace to the inner world. Every unhealed memory, every unforgiven grievance creates static in the energy field. That static distorts the music of creation. You cannot sing the song of abundance while humming the tune of resentment. You cannot call forth wealth while your heart is heavy with envy. The universe mirrors your tone exactly. If you vibrate discord, it reflects confusion. If you vibrate harmony, it reflects abundance. Therefore, the first act of wealth is forgiveness. To forgive is to remove the noise from your soul's melody. It does not excuse wrongs. It restores your energy to purity. When the soul is clean, wealth finds it as easily as sound finds an open chamber to echo within. Harmony also requires beauty. Beauty is not vanity. It is order made visible. A harmonious environment reflects a harmonious mind. When your surroundings are cluttered or chaotic, your vibration scatters. When they are arranged with care, light flows freely through them, carrying subtle messages of abundance to your subconscious. The clean desk, the made bed, the candle softly burning, all are silent affirmations of wealth. They say, I honor the rhythm of order. I am aligned with peace. The smallest act of beauty, a vase of flowers, a moment of stillness, a prayer before sleep, can recalibrate your energy and call forth the flow of prosperity. The soul that surrounds itself with beauty is telling the universe, I am ready to receive. Harmony is also a matter of tone in speech and thought. Every word has frequency. When spoken harshly, even in truth, it strikes against the divine rhythm and weakens your magnetic field. But when spoken with kindness, even correction becomes melody. The voice of a harmonious soul carries calm authority. People listen, opportunities open, doors respond. Thought works the same way. Anxious thought vibrates irregularly and disperses energy. Peaceful thought vibrates steadily and concentrates it. The harmonious thinker does not force outcomes. They hold an image in quiet certainty and let the unseen arrange it in perfect order. Their mind is a tuned instrument through which the divine symphony expresses itself as wealth. The soul in harmony never competes. Competition is the song of fear, a belief in scarcity, a discordant note that says, there is not enough. But harmony sings, all is enough. When you are in harmony, you cannot lose, because your good is not dependent on the diminishing of another. Your wealth is your vibration, and no one can duplicate that tone. The tree does not envy the rose. The river does not resent the mountain. Each fulfills its purpose within the larger harmony of creation. To envy is to fall out of rhythm. To bless is to remain in tune. The moment you bless another's success, your own increases, for the vibration of blessing strengthens the cord of abundance. To live harmoniously is to practice gratitude for every note of life's song. Some notes are sweet, others dissonant, yet all are necessary to complete the melody. When you resist nothing, you become as clear as crystal, allowing light to move freely through you. That light is prosperity. Harmony dissolves obstacles without struggle, because it does not acknowledge conflict as real. It sees only divine order in unfolding. When challenges appear, the harmonious soul listens for their hidden instruction rather than their noise. It asks not, why is this happening to me? But what new rhythm is this inviting me to play? In that question lies transformation. Harmony also manifests in time. The soul that trusts divine rhythm does not rush. Impatience is the song of poverty. Patience is the cadence of wealth. The universe unfolds in perfect sequence, and harmony aligns with that timing. The one who acts too soon acts out of fear. The one who waits in peace acts in wisdom. Divine timing is not delay. It is preparation. Just as the tide waits for the moon's pull, your manifestation waits for your vibration to match its frequency. When you no longer chase outcomes but rest in readiness, wealth finds you in silence. Even the body responds to harmony. When the mind is at war with itself, the body reflects confusion. When thought and emotion are reconciled, health blossoms. Health is the first form of wealth, the physical echo of spiritual harmony. To bless your body, to feed it with care, to rest it in peace, is to declare yourself worthy of abundance. The divine cannot flow through a vessel filled with conflict. Harmony within the body invites prosperity in the world, for both are mirrors of the same energy. The glow of health and the glow of wealth arise from one source, the steady, luminous vibration of inner peace. Harmony is not an achievement, but a remembering. It is remembering that you are part of the eternal rhythm that governs galaxies and grains of sand alike. When you remember, you stop fighting the music and begin to dance with it. The dance is effortless because it follows the pulse of creation. Each step, each breath, each choice is guided. You are no longer separate from life's orchestra. You are an instrument within it, and as you play your note faithfully, in joy, in peace, in balance, the universe responds with harmony's reward, abundance, flowing as naturally as breath, as inevitable as dawn, as gentle and powerful as the divine rhythm itself. Dreams are the messengers of the divine mind. They travel through the quiet corridors of the night, carrying unseen provisions from the spiritual realm to the waking world. The soul, while the body sleeps, journeys beyond the walls of logic into the boundless field where all creation begins. There, it communes with the laws that shape reality. Dreams are not illusions. They are transmissions. They bring messages from the higher planes where your good already exists in perfect form. While your conscious mind sleeps, the subconscious receives instruction, guidance, and replenishment. Dreams are carriers of supply. They bring to you the invisible blueprint of abundance before it appears in matter. Each night when you surrender to sleep, your spirit travels home to the source of its power. You may not remember the journey, but your soul does. It returns from those silent realms bearing gifts, ideas, impulses, healing impressions, and quiet reassurances that all is unfolding in divine order. Many dismiss their dreams as imagination, not realizing that imagination itself is the bridge to manifestation. The dream world is the laboratory of creation, where the arrow energy of intention is molded into spiritual design. Every dream that feels charged with beauty, hope, or revelation is a message from this inner workshop, showing you what is already forming in the unseen. In the dream state, the barriers of reason and fear dissolve. The limited self steps aside, and the infinite self speaks freely. This is why in dreams you can fly, heal, or receive what you desire without effort. The soul is reminding you of your true condition, limitless, provided for, already complete. The images that come to you in sleep are not random. They are symbolic echoes of the spiritual forces at work on your behalf. If you dream of light, it means illumination is entering your life. If you dream of a house being built, your consciousness is expanding. If you dream of receiving gifts, the universe is preparing to express provision through you. The form may be mysterious, but the essence is always benevolent. The ancient teachers understood that dreams were sacred communications between the divine and the soul. In temples of old, seekers would sleep in chambers consecrated to healing or wisdom, trusting that their dreams would bring the needed revelation. They believed, as you may believe again, that what the spirit receives in vision, the world must later reflect, When your nights are filled with peace, it is not by chance, it is because the currents of supply are flowing toward you in silence. The dream state is the nightly rehearsal of your abundance. Every image of joy, every moment of flight, every symbol of expansion is a sign that the spiritual storehouse is being opened and poured into your life. Dreams are not bound by time. They often reveal tomorrow's answers in today's sleep. Many inventions, works of art, and discoveries were born in dreams. For the soul, when freed from the senses, moves effortlessly through the corridors of wisdom. The painter receives his vision, the writer his words, the scientist his formula, the healer his method, all through this divine medium. What is received in dream does not belong to the dream alone. It belongs to the waking world that follows. The sleep of the body is the labor of the spirit. While you rest, the divine builds bridges, arranges meetings, and aligns opportunities. When you wake with sudden inspiration or peace, you are simply witnessing the delivery of what was constructed while you slept. The supply carried by dreams is not only material, it is emotional and spiritual as well. Many awaken from a dream of lightness or renewal and feel an unexplainable peace. This peace is not fleeting. It is a deposit from the higher planes. It is the energy of assurance translated into feeling. Such feelings are the most accurate guidance you can receive. The dream may fade, but the vibration remains, quietly adjusting your life toward harmony. You may suddenly release a fear you have carried for years, or feel prompted to take a certain step. These are the echoes of nocturnal instruction. The soul does not lecture, it infuses. To prepare for the arrival of these silent messengers, one must enter sleep with reverence. The moments before you drift into slumber are gateways. The last thoughts you think become the tone that guides your journey through the night. If you fill that gateway with worry, you invite confused symbols. If you fill it with gratitude and faith, you open the channels of divine communication. Say softly before rest, "Tonight I receive perfect guidance and supply." This simple decree sets the vibration for your dreams to carry riches of wisdom and provision. You need not strive to remember every vision. Trust that your soul will retain what is essential and bring it forth at the right time. Dreams also act as purifiers of consciousness. During the day, the mind collects fragments of emotion, fear, and unfinished thought. In dreams, the spirit organizes and releases these energies, transforming heaviness into harmony. That is why dreams can sometimes appear strange or intense. They are the psyche's way of cleansing itself. The soul uses symbols and stories to clear the pathways for divine supply, to flow unhindered. After a night of such inner work, you awaken lighter, more open, more receptive. The cleansing dream is not a disturbance but a divine adjustment, sweeping away mental clutter so that prosperity can find clear passage to you. Sometimes a dream will linger, like perfume, in the morning air. It may leave you with an image you cannot forget. A door, a light, a voice, a place you have never seen yet. Somehow remember, these are not accidents. They are landmarks of your spiritual geography, reminders that your consciousness travels far beyond the boundaries of the physical world. You are being shown glimpses of the higher reality, where your abundance already exists. When you awaken with a sense of calm certainty, as though something unseen has been settled on your behalf. It has. The angels of supply have delivered their message. The vibration of your good has been anchored in the unseen. It is also possible to direct your dreams consciously. Before sleep, speak clearly to your inner self. Show me the way to receive my divine provision. Reveal the next step in my good. This is not asking in desperation, but inviting instruction in peace. The divine mind responds instantly to focused intention. It will send the answer in imagery, feeling, or intuitive knowing. The next day, you may cross paths with a person, read a sentence, or notice an opportunity that feels charged with meaning. That is the echo of your dream taking form. Every silent request you make in harmony becomes a spiritual order placed with the universe, and dreams are the couriers that deliver confirmation of receipt. When you understand that dreams are carriers of supply, you will no longer dismiss them as illusions, but welcome them as nightly miracles. You will go to sleep not as one escaping the day, but as one entering a divine conference. The outer world rests, but the inner world awakens. The soul, clothed in light, walks through invisible gardens where ideas bloom and blessings ripen. It collects the harvest, wraps it in symbols, and brings it back to the threshold of waking. The dreamer opens their eyes in the morning, and though the memory fades, the essence remains. Life begins to unfold with new ease, new provision, new rhythm. Things once delayed begin to move. People once distant appear at the right time. Circumstances rearrange themselves without effort, all because the unseen work of the night has quietly completed its task. To dream, then, is to receive. Every night you sleep, the universe speaks in pictures, feeding your soul the very nourishment that your day will require. To honor your dreams is to honor the divine supply that never ceases. They are the invisible couriers of your abundance, the angels that carry your answered prayers through the corridors of silence, delivering them softly into the light of dawn. There exists within every soul a single phrase of divine power, a living sentence that echoes through eternity, unbroken and unforgotten. It is not merely a saying, it is the original language of creation, the breath of assurance that formed the worlds. The eternal affirmation is the soul's remembrance of its divine inheritance. It is the quiet decree that all is well, that supply is certain, that harmony is unbroken, that good is already accomplished in spirit before the eyes can see it. When one aligns with this eternal truth, lack becomes impossible, fear becomes meaningless, and the heart finds rest in divine rhythm. The eternal affirmation is not something learned, it is something remembered. It lies sleeping beneath the noise of the mind, waiting to be spoken, not aloud, but in consciousness. This affirmation begins with knowing that there is a higher law that governs all life, a law that never sleeps, never falters, and never fails. To live under this law is to live above the illusions of struggle. It is to know that the same power that guides the planets also guides your affairs. This knowing is the beginning of the eternal affirmation. It is the understanding that your supply does not come from men, markets, or chance, but from the infinite source that never withholds. The eternal affirmation whispers through every atom, there is nothing to fear. All that is mine by divine right comes easily, quickly, and in perfect joy. When you rest within that vibration, you no longer strive, you align. To speak this affirmation with faith is to release divine order into motion. The universe responds instantly, for it recognizes the tone of truth. When you declare, there is nothing to fear, you dissolve the shadow that once distorted perception. Fear is the denial of divine presence. Faith is its remembrance. The eternal affirmation does not fight fear, it transcends it. It shifts consciousness from anxiety to authority, from chaos to creation. The soul that lives in this awareness commands without effort. Every word becomes magnetic, every silence creative. It is the posture of divine certainty, the knowing that unseen forces are forever arranging circumstances for good. The eternal affirmation is not repetition, it is realization. To repeat words without conviction is like striking a drum with no rhythm. The true affirmation vibrates through being. It is felt, not forced. It does not arise from intellect, but from communion with the infinite. When one feels the truth of abundance pulsing in the heart, the words become unnecessary, for the vibration itself speaks. Yet the phrase remains, not as ritual, but as anchor. All that is mine by divine right comes easily, quickly, and in perfect joy. These words do not ask, they announce, they carry the authority of one who knows that creation has already obeyed. Every soul carries its own variation of this affirmation. Some may feel it as a deep calm, others as a quiet power behind the eyes. It is the sense that life is not happening to you, but through you. This is the essence of dominion. To live in the eternal affirmation is to walk the earth as an emissary of divine order. You no longer see yourself as limited or lacking. You see yourself as a vessel through which supply flows. The trees do not question their sunlight, nor the rivers their course. So too should man cease questioning the flow of his own provision. The eternal affirmation aligns him with that certainty, erasing every shadow of doubt that once obscured his path. When the mind is restless and filled with confusion, the eternal affirmation serves as tuning fork. It resets vibration. The scattered thoughts begin to quiet, the heart steadies, the breath deepens, and a higher rhythm takes over. This rhythm is the heartbeat of the universe, steady, generous, and unending. To affirm all that is mine by divine right comes easily, is to step into this rhythm consciously. Ease is not idleness, it is harmony. When life unfolds easily, it does so not because effort has stopped, but because resistance has ceased. The eternal affirmation removes the friction of disbelief, allowing energy to flow as it was meant to, smooth, radiant, and abundant. This affirmation also reveals a hidden truth about joy. Joy is not a result of having, it is the cause of having. When you affirm joy before the manifestation, you ignite the vibration that attracts it. To live in joy is to live in expectation without tension. To know that life is not withholding, but waiting for recognition. The phrase "in perfect joy" completes the circuit of creation. For what is abundance without delight? What is wealth without peace? The eternal affirmation does not seek riches alone. It seeks divine wholeness. It calls forth supply, wrapped in serenity, success clothed in grace, prosperity that carries no sorrow with it. The words "by divine right" are the key to this sacred decree. They remind the soul that no good need ever be taken from another, nor stolen, nor fought for. The supply that comes by divine right is already yours in the invisible. It cannot be denied, delayed, or diminished. To insist upon your good by divine right is to align with justice, harmony, and truth. When you affirm this, you stop chasing blessings that belong to someone else's vibration and begin receiving what has always belonged to yours. The eternal affirmation works because it harmonizes you with your appointed portion, the unique expression of abundance that matches your soul's design. When practiced with sincerity, this affirmation transforms even the smallest act into a ritual of creation. You may whisper it while preparing food, and suddenly that meal becomes sacred. You may think it while walking down the street, and the world around you begins to glow with meaning. Every repetition deepens the groove of faith until the mind no longer needs to remind itself. The truth becomes automatic. You awaken one day and realize that you no longer try to believe. You know, and this knowing is the true prosperity, for from it all outer wealth must follow. The eternal affirmation does not erase challenges, it redefines them. When obstacles arise, you remember that they too are expressions of divine order seeking to correct vibration. Instead of fear, you affirm again, all that is mine by divine right comes easily, quickly, and in perfect joy. The energy of the statement dissolves the appearance of difficulty, re-establishing flow. The universe cannot resist a consciousness anchored in truth. Circumstances that once felt immovable begin to shift with grace. People change, paths open, opportunities appear, all responding to the invisible command of your unwavering faith. To live within the eternal affirmation is to understand that time itself bends to truth. What once seemed delayed arrives at the perfect hour. What once felt lost returns in higher form. The divine order never hurries, but it never fails. The moment you affirm your alignment, the unseen begins to move. The seed does not sprout the instant it is planted, yet in that instant, growth has already begun beneath the soil. The same is true for your word. When spoken in the vibration of certainty, it activates processes beyond your sight. Days later, weeks later, the results appear, but the miracle began the moment the affirmation was conceived in faith. Even in moments of silence, the eternal affirmation continues its work. Once planted, it repeats itself through the layers of consciousness, humming softly in the background of your thoughts. It becomes the pulse of your being. You find yourself responding to life differently. Less reaction, more trust. Worry becomes impossible, because your spirit knows that the outcome is already ordained. The eternal affirmation has rewritten the pattern of your reality, establishing peace as the new baseline. From that peace, prosperity flows naturally, without strain or struggle. The eternal affirmation is both promise and law. It does not beg the universe to act. It declares that the universe has already acted. It does not say, "Let there be good," but good already is. When you live by this recognition, the duality of waiting and receiving dissolves. You no longer look for miracles. They follow you. You no longer measure blessings. They multiply in silence. The affirmation becomes your inner atmosphere, your constant companion, your quiet inheritance. It is the song of creation still echoing through your being, reminding you that you are the voice through which abundance continues to speak. There is a place within you where the first word of creation still rings, a chamber of quiet radiance where the decree of abundance remains forever new. In that inner sanctuary, the eternal affirmation is not a sentence but a state, a living atmosphere in which every thought is guided, every desire clarified, every step lit from within. Here, you no longer try to convince life to be generous. You remember that life already is. You no longer strive to hold the current. You discover you are made of the current. The eternal affirmation is the felt realization that all supply moves by right of divine order, and that your soul, aligned and awake, is its natural inlet. In this awareness, the air itself seems to shimmer with promise, as though every breath were a benediction and every heartbeat a vow that provision never fails. To arrive at this room of radiance, the soul has walked a path of keys that open in sequence, each one releasing a deeper cadence of trust. The first key is the law of spoken wealth, the recognition that words are not merely sounds but living emissaries. Through it, you learned to shape substance by shaping speech, to guard the gate of your lips as if it were a treasury door. The second is the night, as a holy channel, the surrender that lets the divine mind work while you sleep, arranging patterns beyond the reach of effort. The third is prosperity, as natural rhythm, the revelation that wealth circulates like breath and tide, and that the only poverty is resistance to flow. The fourth is the frequency of gratitude, which tunes consciousness to reception by praising what is already true in spirit. The fifth is silent commands of the soul, where even speech becomes optional, because vibration has been made pure. The sixth is harmony invites wealth, the great homecoming to order, beauty and timing that makes all gates swing open. The seventh is dreams as carriers of supply, the nightly courier that brings you the design before the structure, the meaning before the matter. And then, when all seven tones have taught you their music, you enter the octave above them, the eternal affirmation. This final key is not a technique, it is a posture. It is how you sit within your own life, unhindered, unhurried, unmistakably at home. When the eternal affirmation is established, sentences of faith appear and disappear like waves on the same ocean, but the ocean remains. You could say there is nothing to fear, yet the deeper truth is that fear cannot rise in an atmosphere where completion is the climate. You could declare, all that is mine by divine right comes easily, quickly, and in perfect joy, yet even without words, the decree continues, because the decree has become your being. The affirmation remains eternal, not because you repeat it, but because the infinite repeats it as you. Under this light, your relationship with timing softens into trust. You cease to measure the distance between desire and fulfillment. You discover that the seed and the fruit are not enemies across seasons, but faces of the same benevolence. You find yourself grateful before evidence, calm during gestation, generous at harvest. Ease becomes the signature of your steps, not laziness, but lawful motion. You discover that ease is what effort looks like when it has been baptized in wisdom. The eternal affirmation consecrates activity. It also consecrates rest. You work without strain, because your action is an exhale of a truth already breathed in. You rest without fear, because your stillness is not a pause in provision, it is provision in another form. As this remembrance deepens, your speech changes in a way subtler than choosing new phrases. The cadence shifts. The tone rings clear. You do not decorate sentences with hope. You allow sentences to carry the weight of knowing. People hear something in your voice they cannot name. Doors answer you before you knock. Paths brighten one step in front of the foot that must take them. It is not persuasion, it is resonance. The eternal affirmation has tuned you to the pitch at which supply recognizes itself. What belongs to you, by divine right, does not need to be hunted, it needs to be recognized. Recognition is the open gate through which all rightful things pass. Even your environment begins to mirror the inner decree. Order appears. Where chaos once disguised itself as urgency, beauty gathers in corners that used to collect delay. The ordinary becomes sacramental. A made bed is a covenant with clarity. A swept floor, a hymn to circulation. A shared meal, a visible parable of infinite sufficiency. You discover that wealth is not a summit, but a climate. And climate is made of needles of countless small choices pointing in one direction, toward harmony. To keep that climate is to keep the world within you warm enough for seeds to sprout whenever spirit drops them into your hand. In the presence of the eternal affirmation, anxiety has nowhere to sit. It is not debated or defeated. It is displaced by a larger occupancy. You become too full of assurance to host the furniture of dread. The old reflexes counting what is missing, rehearsing what might fail, bargaining with fate, begin to fall away as naturally as leaves loosen in autumn. In their place grows a lucid practicality, a holy common sense. You pay what you owe with dignity, and what seems larger than your purse shrinks to fit the law that all things are measured by truth, not terror. You speak to your ledger as you would speak to a frost-bitten flower, gently, warmly, declaratively. Numbers that once looked like verdicts become visitors, and visitors can be received, understood, and sent on their way in peace. Here, too, forgiveness ripens into a daily atmosphere, not a performance, but an unclenching. You begin to understand that resentment is a tax on the very wealth you are welcoming. To hold another in debt is to keep yourself in court. The eternal affirmation refuses this jurisdiction and returns you to the kingdom of clean arithmetic, where the only addition is blessing and the only subtraction is fear. You bless the success you see in others, because you know the ocean can lift many boats without running out of tide. You bless what left you, because you know circulation is how love keeps a ledger. You bless what comes, because you know all true arrival is the echo of a prior decree. Dreams, once occasional visitations, become a second citizenship. Their language grows familiar. You rise with knowledge that has no sentence attached to it, and act as though you read a letter in the dark and remember every word. Nudges become instructions, and instructions become sequences that place you exactly where supply is arriving. You notice that luck behaves like a hummingbird, that finds your shoulder no matter which path you choose, so long as the path is chosen in peace. You notice that the world, which used to bargain with you, is now an orchestra that cues you. The eternal affirmation is the sheet music. The conductor has never missed a measure. There will be days when the wind leans hard against your windows. Appearance will suggest that something has slipped, some wheel unlatched from its axle. In those hours, the eternal affirmation does its best work. Not in the flare of defiance, but in the quiet of unbroken tone. You do not scold the storm. You befriend the barometer within. You let the inner pressure hold steady until the outer weather remembers what season it is. You act where action is yours, and where it is not, you keep the door of your mind open to the ministering angels of arrangement. When the air clears, the ground beneath you is often better than before, because truth used the wind to sweep away what you would never have had time to carry out yourself. Generosity in this light becomes simple. Not an obligation, not a display, an instinct, a way of staying in circulation, like swimming with the tide that would have carried you anyway. You give, because giving is how the vessel announces there is room for more. You give, because love is a carpenter, and insists on measuring the table to the size of the feast. And because the eternal affirmation has replaced superstition with science, the science of spirit, you know that release and return are two faces of the same angel. What leaves your hand does not leave your life. It changes address, learns your name more fully, and comes home fluent in multiplication. Prayer itself grows quiet. Sometimes it is only a breath with a posture inside it, a leaning of the whole self toward the center where light lives. Sometimes it is a word, sometimes a tear, sometimes a smile that no one sees but everything obeys. You find that the spaces between words carry as much power as the words themselves, and that the most effective command is often the one you embody without articulation. When sentences do come, they are clear, warm, unafraid, not please so much as thank you, not if so much as because. And when silence returns, it is no longer emptiness. It is charged air, the interval where the unseen finishes your sentence with a signature you recognize by the peace that follows. Authority and tenderness meet here. You are firm with your inner gates, kind with your outer world. You no longer argue with shadows or audition for scarcity's approval. You belong to rhythm, to sufficiency, to the holy arithmetic by which a little oil fills many lamps, and 5 loaves learn the grammar of more than enough. The eternal affirmation writes this grammar in your nervous system, so that your very resting face tells the truth. Nothing essential can be taken, nothing rightful can be withheld, nothing timely can be late. This truth does not make you careless, it makes you careful in the old, beautiful sense, full of care for what is worthy and free of care for what is not. If there is a practice now, it is reverence. Reverence for mornings that arrive like clean pages. Reverence for work that lets love wear useful clothes. Reverence for thresholds, doorways, mealtimes, partings, returns where you pause long enough to let blessing catch up to your body and put its hand upon your shoulder. Reverence for names, including your own, spoken as though carved from the same wood as altars. Reverence for sleep, where the night staff of heaven clocks in and continues the project you began with your yes. You have not escaped the world. You have relocated the center. You carry it with you into markets and kitchens, into spreadsheets and soft chairs, into hospitals, interviews, sidewalks, waiting rooms. The eternal affirmation is not a retreat from the practical. It is the soul of the practical, the principle that makes ordinary things obey extraordinary order. You will notice that interruptions become introductions, and detours align like stepping stones across a stream you used to fear. You will notice that even your mistakes, when repented in peace, are harvested for material thread, rewoven into patterns stronger than the ones you planned. And if anyone asks quietly, as people do when they sense a weather around you they want but cannot name, how it came to be that your days sound like this, you may tell them the path by its doors. The law of spoken wealth, the night as a holy channel, prosperity as natural rhythm, the frequency of gratitude, silent commands of the soul, harmony invites wealth, dreams as carriers of supply, and finally the eternal affirmation, which is not a door but the house itself, not a technique but the temperature of a life, not a single sentence but the atmosphere in which all true sentences are born and kept.